Next, we're going to discuss Adobe Typekit, and I alluded to this a little bit in the last video. Adobe Typekit was introduced with Creative Cloud, and what it enables designers to do is, as long as a subscriber is subscribed to Adobe Creative Cloud, they have access to the Typekit fonts. Let me select my type tool. I'm going to go up here, and when I click on my font menu up here at the top to select my font, in the right hand corner you see this little green TK, and that's if I wanted to add Typekit fonts. So if I click on Add Fonts from Typekit, it opens up the Adobe Typekit library. Alright, I already had one open. Let me close that one. And so I can go through and I have access to all of these amazing fonts, and I can use them interchangeably in all of my projects, in all of the applications. Now, a word of warning. These fonts will show up in your projects and be editable only as long as you continue to subscribe to Adobe. If you discontinue your Adobe subscription and then try to open a magazine cover that you created in InDesign, the fonts will not show up correctly. They will be substituted with other fonts. Now, there are a few different types of fonts in Typekit. There are desktop fonts and web fonts. And desktop fonts behave almost the same as other fonts installed on your computer. They live on your hard drive. You can use them in any program that has a font menu. You can embed them into PDFs, convert the characters to paths, so on. But you cannot use a font management program with them. And you cannot include the fonts when packaging up a document to have it printed somewhere else. And that's because these font files are stored invisibly on your hard drive. So you can't go in and access them, and even InDesign, etc., it doesn't access them to package up your files. Now, if you need to share a Photoshop document that includes a Typekit desktop font, the other person will be able to open and print the document, but they cannot edit the text unless they are also a Creative Cloud member and download the same font. Now, web fonts are stored on Adobe servers rather than being stored on your machine. And they're delivered to the web browsers so that when visitors access the pages you've created, Adobe allows access to the font. This is limited to websites that have no more than 500,000 page views on each domain. So if you have a viral website, then you're required to upgrade to a paid Typekit plan, which starts at $50 to $100 per year for 1 million page views. And just like with the desktop fonts, if you discontinue your Creative Cloud subscription, then the font will no longer be viewable and a substitution will occur. Now, to install a Typekit font, all you had to do was click on that menu that I showed you earlier, and you can go through, and there are several different areas in which you can search for them. You can search for them by weight. You can search for them by availability. Do you want one that's web and desktop or just web? You can look for sans serif fonts only, or serif fonts, slab serif, etc. And once you have one that you like, let's select the Azo here. You can select the font. Now when you hover over it, you can see that it is available for web and it can be synced. And so if I click on Use Fonts, it's going to ask me if I want to sync this font. I'll say sync it, and it's going through, and now anytime I use my Adobe applications, this font will be available. And you see that I have a pop-up message that occurred that says the font Azo Sans Uber Regular has been added. So I can click on that to remove it. and remove that as well. And now, if I go back to Photoshop and select my font menu, we can see that the Azo Sans Uber regular font has been added. And notice that as I scroll through the different fonts on the menu, that it's also changing the font on my word so I can view that. I can scroll through using my arrow keys or my mouse. Now, going back to the Typekit, I can look right here. You can see all my synced fonts here. I can do a search. The tabs include my library, my favorites, purchased fonts. If I go back to my library, I can type in sample text here. If I type in inspire, and I can make this smaller so my whole word fits. Now I can see my text in the windows here as I'm viewing the various Typekit fonts. Once again, over to the right under classification, I can view different types of font categories. I can select if I only want web fonts to show, I can click that, and what is selected shows up green. Am I going to be creating headlines or paragraphs that say headlines? I can put that in and it will go through and it will only show me the best fonts for headlines. And then down here under properties, I can select various weights and widths, contrast, height, standard, etc. And as you go through, you may select some options that leave you limited on your choices, so then you can go through and you can remove some of those just by clicking back on the green options that have been selected to deselect them. And that's just kind of a general overview on how to use Adobe Typekit.